You know, what if I told you that the foundations of modern capitalism and Islamic finance actually have a whole lot more in common than you'd think? Today, we're going to explore two really powerful economic philosophies, and despite all their differences, they're both trying to answer the exact same fundamental questions about wealth, about fairness, and, well, about the future. So let's get into it.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the absolute basics of any economy. Then we'll jump into the universal challenge of risk. After that, we're going to dig into what Adam Smith's true vision was, compare that to the core principles of Islamic finance, and then we'll wrap it all up by looking at how these huge ideas are shaping the world right now.
Okay, first things first. To really get a handle on any financial system, whether we're talking about Wall Street or Dubai, we have to start with a really fundamental distinction: the difference between the real economy and the financial one. This is where everything begins.
So just imagine for a second you want to start a coffee shop. The real sector is, well, it's you. It's the coffee beans, the espresso machine. It's everything that creates an actual tangible product. The financial sector, that's the loan you might get to buy that machine, or the investors who help you expand. Think of it as the lifeblood that fuels the real part of the economy.
Now let's talk about the elephant in the room for any economic system, and that is the future. I mean, every single decision we make, whether it's planting a seed or launching a rocket, it's a bit of a gamble, right? So how do we manage all that uncertainty?
And this is a really crucial distinction to make. Uncertainty, well, that's just a given. We can't predict the future. But risk, that's what we take on when we decide to act in the face of that uncertainty. It's the direct result of making a choice. And as we're about to see, different economic systems have come up with very different ways of dealing with it.
And this right here is where modern finance gets really clever. Let's say you want to launch a new app. Instead of putting every dime you have on the line, you can get a loan, or you can sell shares to investors. And just like that, the risk of your app totally flopping is, poof, it shifted from you, the creator, to the broader financial system.
So how in the world do we end up with a system that's so good at shifting risk around? Well, to answer that, we really need to go back to the man himself, Adam Smith, and uncover the truth behind his famous and often misunderstood invisible hand. You know, most people think of Adam Smith as the ultimate champion of ruthless self-interest. But what if I told you that's not even close to the whole story? His famous invisible hand was never ever meant to operate in some kind of moral vacuum. For Smith, it was all part of a divinely inspired system that was designed to promote the common good.
Just let that sink in for a minute. The father of modern capitalism believed that morality wasn't some optional add-on. It was the very foundation of a healthy market. For him, virtues like trust and justice weren't just nice to have. They were the absolute bedrock that a society needed to thrive. And they're what prevented the market from just devolving into pure exploitation.
Okay, so now let's pivot and look at a system that takes a radically different approach to both risk and ethics. While Adam Smith's vision was built on a moral framework, Islamic finance is rooted in a set of divine principles that have truly profound implications for how markets are supposed to operate.
So, you see, while capitalism kind of evolved organically over centuries, the principles of Islamic finance are drawn directly from the Quran and the teachings of the Prophet. These sacred texts aren't just a source of moral guidance, they provide a comprehensive blueprint for exactly how to conduct business.
At the very heart of Islamic finance is the strict prohibition of something called riba, which is basically interest. The idea is actually pretty simple. Money shouldn't be able to make more money all by itself. Instead, it has to be tied to some real-world economic activity like building a factory or developing a new product. In other words, you can't just lend out money and expect a guaranteed return. You have to actually invest it.
This ancient teaching really captures the essence of Islamic finance perfectly. It's all about fair exchange. You can trade gold for gold, sure, but it has to be an equal exchange. You can't just lend someone 10 grams and expect to get 11 back. That extra gram, it's considered an unjust gain because it wasn't earned through productive work or through some kind of shared risk.
And here it is. This is the absolute game changer. By banning interest, Islamic finance completely flips the script on risk. Instead of a system where lenders can just offload all the risk onto borrowers, it creates a system of risk sharing. When you invest in a business, you're not just the lender, you become a partner. You get to share in the profits, but yeah, you also have to share in the losses. Now, this whole idea of risk sharing isn't just some standalone principle. It's actually part of a much larger ethical framework.
one that includes clear property rights, a really deep commitment to trust, and a market that is designed to be both free and fair. It's a system designed to promote the well-being of everybody, not just a select few.
So, that's the theory. But what does a risk-sharing financial system actually look like in the real world, today? Well, let's dive into the modern Islamic capital market and find out.
And let me be clear, this is not some niche market we're talking about. This is a complete, sophisticated financial ecosystem. It has Sharia-compliant stocks, which basically means shares in companies that aren't involved in prohibited industries like alcohol or gambling. And it has a massive market for something called sukuk. Think of them like Islamic bonds. But instead of debt, a sukuk gives you part ownership in a real asset, so your return comes from how that asset actually performs.
And if you're sitting there thinking this is just a small corner of the financial world, well, think again. In a major economy like Malaysia, Sharia-compliant securities make up over 60% of the entire stock market. We're talking about a trillion ringgit industry here, and it is growing every single day.
And this is not just happening in the Muslim world. It's a global phenomenon. You've got Bahrain, which pioneered sukuk, Indonesia launching its own Islamic index, all the way to the United Kingdom, which has actually amended its laws to accommodate these kinds of products. It's global, and it is definitely here to stay.
So here's the bottom line. Both Adam Smith and the principles of Islamic finance were ultimately aimed at creating a just and prosperous society, but they took very different paths to get there. One path led to a system that absolutely excels at shifting risk, while the other created a system that is all about sharing it. So as we face the challenges of the 21st century, we really have to ask ourselves, which of these paths is going to lead us to a more stable and equitable future?